breakfast. I can tell that everyone here wants to be here because you probably needed like a Humvee to like navigate all of the trailers and all the construction vehicles. So we so appreciate that you're here. Who here has been to DreamBank before? Just by a quick show of hands. Awesome. We love it when you take time out of your busy week to be here with us. And who here is here for the very, very first time? So we love when new folks check us out, and we are just so happy to share this resource with you. So you may be wondering, those of you that are here for the first time, what is this dream vortex that I just walked into? So this is called DreamBank. It's put on by American Family Insurance because we believe your dream is the most valuable thing that you'll ever own. And this is a free space where you can come and be inspired to and equipped to pursue your dreams. So we have two parts to our experience. In the very front of our space, we have an interactive exhibit and technology that gets you in the right mindset to pursue your dream. Our current theme is all around the theme of gratitude, and that goes through the end of the month, and then we have something totally new and fresh coming into the space. So if you haven't checked that out already, be sure to check that out before you leave. And then in this space, we run 35 plus free events where we bring in thought leader experts, and I see many of you who present here at DreamBank in the crowd, which is awesome. And they come and they share their experience, their skills, their knowledge with you for free. So we have all kinds of great small business and social media related events, but we also have inspirational speakers, life coaches. On Saturday mornings, we have great events for young families and kids. We even have on Sundays professional crafters that come in and teach you how to do crafting. So all of our events are in this May brochure, which is near your seat. And on the back is our website. It has all of our events posted through the end of July. So we highly encourage, I know word has been spreading about DreamBank, so we encourage you to sign up online just to make sure. I know some of our events have filled up recently and in recent weeks. All right. One event that I want to highlight before we introduce our featured presenter, and this is on your seat as well, we have online sales expert Adrienne Machina, who will be joining us next week. That's Tuesday, May 24th. And she's going to be talking about online tips, tricks, and ideas to boost sales. And she is truly an expert in this space. And she's presented here a couple times. And I know if you come, you'll get a lot of value from that. So that's Tuesday, May 24th from noon to 1:15. All right. So I want to tell, before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about this series and why we do this. So probably about 3 years ago, as I was looking at the entrepreneurship programming that we're going to provide here at DreamBank, I was just kind of surveying the whole kind of entrepreneur ecosystem here in Madison. What I found is some of the biggest success stories, as far as businesses in this city, have been women-led businesses. You think of the Epics or American Girls. They're women-led businesses. What I was finding is I looked for networking opportunities and women's entrepreneur groups, there was kind of a disproportion for the number of women entrepreneurs and business leaders to those groups. So we wanted this to be a place where you can connect as women business leaders and entrepreneurs, but also highlight the various groups that are going on around the Madison area. So if you are a part of a women's entrepreneur group or leadership group, so an example of that would be like Wisconsin Women's Entrepreneurs or Joanna Group or some type of group like that. We're going to give you an opportunity to share just a quick 30-second commercial on what your group is, when you meet, and how do we get involved. So would anyone like to kick us off, sharing a little bit about the group that you're part of?
Yeah, I'm part of the DreamBank group. It's an amazing group, women-led. I know I've seen you in the group. So helping entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs to achieve their goals is the same, along the same thing that we do here. And they are great resources. They have workshops, they have retreats twice a year, they have guest speakers, they have mentorship program. So I really recommend you to join the DreamBank group. Amy and Heather running the group, and they are amazing.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Yes.
Do they have social coming up very soon? Is it?
They have a golf.
June 1.
June is a
Monthly
retreat, I
connect.
think.
$10 if you're not a member.
Yeah.
What band?
Awesome, great question.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Ackley. I'm actually the president of the Business Forum. And if you're not familiar with what the Business Forum is, but we are a professional women's networking group here in Madison. We not only are for professional development and personal development, but we also raise scholarships to send women back to school, or we also give a couple of scholarships usually to high school students. They are remarkable women. We just had our May Scholarship Luncheon and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. So we're not just about networking and professional development, but we're also about giving back to other women in our community. We meet the first Thursday of every month for lunch at the Madison Club. And then in the summer, we kind of have a few social events. So we have a golf outing that will take the July meeting. It is the third Thursday in July, so there won't be a luncheon. And then in August, we're doing a Mallards game instead of a luncheon.
I'm Laura Tosa, the president of Team Women Madison, and we are kind of a more intimate, smaller networking group where it's one person per core profession. But we welcome new members or visitors to come check us out. We meet every other week on Wednesdays at the Daisy Cafe, and tomorrow morning, 8:45 is our next meeting. So hour-long business meeting, and we support each other with ideas, with referrals, with marketing ideas, and just emotional support, women to women in business. And we do some social action and educational workshops too. So you're welcome to join us.
Is that on the meetup by any chance? The meetup, or how would we find you? How would we learn about you? I'm not complaining, I'm interested.
Oh, great. Great. I'll be glad to. Yeah, if anyone wants.
I'm Shannon, the publisher of Rock Magazine, and I was saying to Chris, it's so fun coming to a women's event that we didn't organize. And actually, we've got some of our brochures over here. DreamBank is an amazing partner of Rock and all of our Thrive events, and we've got some wonderful learning and networking opportunities coming up. And most of our speakers, I think all of our speakers also speak at the DreamBank. We can't do ours for free, but we have a luncheon series. Our next one is August 31st, and Sandy Eichel, who I understand is one of the only people that have standing ovation here, is speaking at that. And then in November, we have Sarah Young. And then we also do a professional development career workshop series, and our speaker for the next 2 workshops is Darcy Bowman, who also really started with DreamBank. So we have some brochures over here. If you're interested.
We have time for one more. Good. And that's a big reason we just want to, there's so many amazing groups we want to highlight and make people aware of them. So, all right, so I get to introduce our featured presenter, who's a really good friend of mine, and she is the president of the Creative Company, and she's recently written an amazing book that she'll probably be sharing a little bit about today. That's called 180 and 120. And she's here today to talk about how to re-engineer your life and your business for success. And what I think is really valuable about what you're going to hear from Laura is she has been in her industry for, like, I think 27 years, and advertising and PR has changed dramatically over that time. So she has been in periods of change and has done that really, really well. And she's probably been, if you ask her which recession she's probably been into, like, she's probably counted more than one hand how many ups and downs and cycles in that times, and those times require you to change. So without further ado, give a warm DreamBank welcome for Laura Gallagher.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for coming out. Every single time I speak at DreamBank in the spring, those guys join us too. So I just came back from a trip to Puerto Rico, and one of the speakers that I heard there was a man named Duncan Wardle, who's head of creative services for Walt Disney World. Can you imagine? What a fun job, right?
Yeah.
And he brought his toy box and his toolkit and all these cool things, but what he didn't bring was a PowerPoint presentation. Do you know why? Because it actually causes the speaker to do something like this. So I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to try something new. Usually we have a really slick PowerPoint. We're not going to do that. I'm just going to be here with you and help you, I hope, help you succeed. So for some of you, some of the content that I'm going to talk about today will challenge you, and it may even change you. And I hope that's what happens, because sometimes we get comfortable in our lives and we start to just kind of coast, right? Anybody there with me? Or, conversely, we can end up in a riptide. And we're drifting out to ocean and we don't even realize it. So when I was in Puerto Rico, one of the things that I learned very quickly, there were these big white caps and things, and there was this red flag that said, don't swim. Now you need to know that I love the water. And there's no way I'm not swimming in that ocean, right? But you can go into the ocean, even with that riptide, if you know some things, if you know what's going to happen out there, or what could happen, and then how to get yourself out of it. Does anybody know the answer to that? What do? Do you swim towards the shore or lateral to it? Exactly, to get yourself out of that situation. And you don't go in too deep. And let's not be too stupid, right? Like, you need to be smart about this. I would say that business is much the same way. And so is life, isn't it? And that riptide can just pull you up, and you're drifting. You don't even know how you got here. We've got to pay attention. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm also going to talk about my own drift and how I brought myself back into just living a really full and amazing life and a happy one, too, for the most part. I still have bad days, just like everybody, but I also have a lot of good days. And I have a reason to get up in the morning and get up and I'm excited. These are things that I'm going to share with you. They're just things that have worked for me. They may not work for you. So take what you want and run with it. We're going to do some exercises, too. And I guess, so one thing I forgot to bring was an easel. So you're just going to have to work with me a little bit on the logistics. But maybe, Denise, could you read this one?
The first step to getting somewhere is to decide you're not going to stay where you are.
First step to getting somewhere is to decide you're not going to stay where you are. So for me, my moment of truth actually happened here at DreamBank. And some of you were here. Who was here a year ago for this speech? Diane was? A couple of you, Kristen? Right. What happened on the day? Anybody? Do you remember? I was checking in the mirror that day. I was having surgery that day.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I found out on Friday at 5:05 that I was going to have to give a speech, that on Tuesday I was going to have emergency surgery, right? And this talk was actually going to be broadcast live across the country, which I was so stoked about. And Chris and I were pretty good marketers. We worked well together. We were going for it, man. We were going to make this thing sing, right? No, your doctor says you're going to have surgery. You need to check into Meriter at noon, and that's when it's supposed to be broadcast live. So there are these moments in your life where you realize that your life is a little too full, maybe, and also where you step back and you go, I don't know if this is really working for me as much as it is for everybody else. And this was my moment. So I did do the speech at 8:30 that morning. We recorded it, and and then Betsy did the speech at noon. Bravo. And because she had to, just jump in. She's a great presenter too, and she and I work together at a creative company. But I was checking into Meriter Hospital at 12:05 and live across America at the same time. So I have done this now. I've done two places at once. But then afterwards I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Do I even like what I'm doing anymore? And there was like this huge tsunami of, what am I doing? Because all I'm doing is working and I'm not having any fun. I knew that about myself. And I had to make some steps to change it. And part of that is actually being able to step back and assess your life. Taking some time to think about whether or not your values are lining up with, and your joy is lining up with your actual life. I'm going to go forward a year and share with you that now things are good. Creative company's good. I published the book I always wanted to publish. I'm writing much more. I just started a publishing company called Mathatria Press, and where I want to publish more specifically Christian authors underneath that umbrella. And let's see, I play in a band on Sundays at my church on an incredible Steinway piano. And I haven't played with people in 30 years. Yeah. It's so fun. And I didn't know what I was doing, and so I did it scared. So the first lesson, you guys, is to do it scared. Do it scared. The first blog post that I wrote, I thought, I am so far out on a limb here. Oh my gosh. Because I knew if I was going to write for business, I wasn't going to write it like everybody else did. I had to be different. I know that from marketing, I know that from branding, and I know that from my own truth. Either I was going to tell the truth about what it was really like to be in business. It's hard. It's not for everybody. You've got to have grit. And in doing so, I actually opened up all of these people that come into my life and helped me learn too, because I showed my vulnerabilities as well as my strengths. My brokenness as well as my awesomeness, if that makes any sense. And sure enough, people started to come towards it and go, oh, I want to be part of that story too. So let's get back to the content. That's just kind of the overview story of where we're at. So are you really where you want to be? This is where I was at a year ago. I was here. But I really wanted to be there, and I wasn't even sure what there looked like. Have you been there? Where you're thinking, I know I'm not where I want to be, but I want to be somewhere else, but I'm not really sure how to get there from here. So what we really need is a GPS for our lives, right? So what does a GPS do for you in the car?
Tell you where to go.
Tells you where to go. What else?
Turnarounds.
Turnarounds, right? If you make a wrong turn, do a U-turn, go back in the other direction.
Traffic issues.
Exactly. What if you don't have a road map for where you're going, or where you want to be? Any road, if you're lost, and any road will get you there. Exactly. And most people don't spend any time actually planning their lives. Would you agree with that? We're just kind of going along here. We got the job, we got the kids, we got the house, we got the responsibilities. And that's what really 180 and 120 came from. So part of this is a business story, and part of this is a personal story. And because we're women, most of us, welcome Bruce, because of that, we tend to put it all together anyway. So we're just going to roll with that whole story here. So 180 and 120. At my company, things were pretty stale. I didn't like our product. I didn't know if I would hire us. That's the truth. We had business. It was coming in the door. I've been in business a long time. Lots of companies are like that. And I knew that you're either growing or you're dying. I taught it. I knew it. And I knew what we were doing. We were coasting towards not a good ending. 25 years in business. I've done it. I could do something else. And you know what I put literally at the altar? The business. And I said, I don't have to do this anymore. Yeah. That was big, especially since now this year I'm getting an award from the state of Wisconsin as a trailblazer. Like, I'm so glad I didn't quit, right? But I was willing to put it on the altar and to say, you know, I don't know if I need to do this anymore. I'm not going to do it the way I've been doing it. I was managing people, didn't like that. I love my team. I love working with a smaller group, like 7 or 8 people, 11, and my head's going to explode. I just know that about me. And I'm not going to have the time to create the things I really want to create. I'm not going to have the time to make things, and I'm not going to have the time to be a creative person, and I have to have both. So, what do you do, right? Because you kind of feel, anybody else here ever feel trapped in their executive life or their life, period? I got the job, the income's coming in, what do I do about it? Exactly. So, here's where I was bored, I was tired, I was frustrated, and I was dealing with problems every day. And I would say that most of my staff felt that. Betsy's here, she's shaking her head, yeah. Felt that too. You know, let's do another website and have it go completely off the rails, right? Where we're giving away $10,000 or $15,000 worth of services because we underbid it. That happened in my business. It doesn't happen today, but it was happening then. And it was happening then in part because I wasn't really into it. You know? I just wasn't. And it had to change. It had to re-engage. How do you get yourself back in there so that you really care again? What I wanted to be was engaged and energized and excited, eager to start the day, and glad to be alive. I do this. I know, I'm not much of an artist in that way. So the current reality where I wanted to be was were 2 different things. And I really didn't know where to start, except that I'll tell you what, I can still remember the day that it started. I went to Rotary, love downtown Rotary. And I went to a coffee shop on State Street. I went to Michelangelo's afterwards with just a pen and paper. And instead of going back to the office where I felt like I had to be all the time, I sat on State Street and I just wrote down things that make me come alive, things that I don't like. I just took some time to kind of play again. And I asked myself some questions like, what would I do if I could do anything? And I knew what I'd do, I'd write. I would write. That's what started this whole thing. I just loved to write. Business was just the economic engine that made it possible for me to write sometimes. And you know, the thing is, I kept telling myself that I couldn't explore those parts of me, but the truth was I could, and I could put it all together. But I had to be brave enough to just begin, to Do you know what I'm saying? Like I said, do it scared. Do it scared. You guys are all going to walk out here with just one concept. It's probably going to be that one. Do it scared. And I mean, it's like, well, I went snorkeling once too. I went snorkeling a year ago, or 2 years ago in Key West. I did that scared. I was all by myself in the ocean with nobody that I knew or anything, and then there was this big stingray underneath me, and I'm like, oh, you died. But I didn't. I didn't die. So in the land in between that tough part, so for the business, the 180 and 120 part, it got harder before it got easier. When you do the autopsy on your life, it will get harder before it gets easier. When you do the autopsy on your business, it will get harder before it gets easier. We had so many processes and systems that had not been updated. We had bad attitudes. We had all kinds of stuff in that organization that were not working the way they should have. And until we addressed them, we couldn't change them. Instead of just putting the blinders on, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's all fine, we're good, it's okay. It's not okay. So let's stop and work on it. So in the land in between, we tell the truth. We do the autopsy. We find out what's getting in the way. So the question I asked Betsy one day is, I said, what is getting in the way of you being wildly successful in this place? And what we came up with was we needed an office manager. And that we would actually probably add $40,000 on the plus side to our lives if we hired an office manager. Do we have an office manager now? Is he amazing?
He's wonderful.
He is so wonderful. You guys will even put gas in my car. Okay. He's so good. He's even picked up my dry cleaning. I kid you not. Like whatever needs to be done, Thomas does it. And I am so thankful for him. So, the other thing that I did with 180 and 120, and I write about it in the book, which you can get at www.180and120.com. And if you use the coupon code 25OFF180, I'll put this up on my website later, you can save 25%. But I built in accountability from every corner. So one of the things that's true about me in my life is that I tend to do things on my own. I've got this thing, I don't need anybody. I'm not sure if that resonates with anybody here. But you know, you try. Maybe you try to depend on somebody, you try to lean on somebody and they fail you. And so, she's like, okay, I got this thing on my own. Well, that wasn't really true, was it? So I started to say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to see if anybody else wants to come along for a ride and help me figure it out. So I put things out there, I asked questions through my blog, and I allowed the whole world essentially to be accountable, be my accountability partners. And I even put out our goals for Creative Company. These are our key performance indexes that we want to achieve by the end of the summer. We want to have this many followers, we want to achieve this kind of net profit, we want to have this kind of culture. And then I said, you know, help us get there from here. And it's interesting how when you put your mind on something, you're like, it has this pull effect, doesn't it? Instead of you pushing and feeling all that energy going towards something, you've got something that you can like be drawn towards. Isn't that exciting? So I was drawn towards a different possibility. Now, I also moved my company from one side of the square to the other side of the square. You need to know that I fought this tooth and nail. I was not interested in change. For somebody who had always been eager to change and like up for it, I wasn't. And all of a sudden, it sort of became time. I had been at my other place for 7 years. We were not going to renew the lease. It was incubator space, and I had to make a move. And so, and I even fired my real estate broker because he got lippy with me because I wasn't making the decision. And so I fired him. I just said, you know, I'm not doing this. Bye. And then his big brother came in and, you know, like saved the deal and actually got me into a place that I really love. But it took. I wasn't into it. It was hard to move there. And all I can say is, even when it's hard, you just got to keep going. And so I did go out, I looked at spaces, I found the space that we love. We're really happy there. It was exactly what we were waiting for. It was the last space I looked at after 8 properties on that day. Super happy with it. But we literally did, pay attention to this because, you know, I'm a writer and so all this makes sense to me. We literally did a 180. We went from one side of the Capitol to the other. Isn't that beautiful? Even, well, this is going to sound funny, but when we first moved into that space, the phone number that we had for Creative Company, still, it's 442-6336, which comes from, I kid you not, Made for Each Other from Sleepless in Seattle. If you look at those, you know, MFEO, 6336, that's our number. And so when we went to the other side of the Capitol, though, the number of our address is 636 West Washington Avenue. So it just, I don't know, kind of funny things that we felt like were meant to be. In any case, I talked about inviting others into the story and asking questions, seeking solutions, all those things are super important. minute before I go into this section, and I'm going to ask you guys to take a minute to think. We're going to do 3 simple exercises or questions. So the first is, what does it feel like to be living your life right now? Just take a minute. There's pen and paper in front of you, and answer that question. The second question is, what are you doing right now? Like, are you running a business? Are you a mom? Are you working at a job that you like or don't like? Are you a daughter to an elderly parent? What are you doing right now? And the third question is, and this is the bigger one, I guess, but what would you be doing if you could do anything? What would you like more of in your life? If you were really honest. So, when you think about that trajectory of where you want to be, that's essentially what you've done. You've just taken 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it was, for yourself to think about where you are, what roles you're playing, and where you would really like to be, and ask yourself, are these things aligned? And I'm going to walk you through the 8 steps to help you get more of what you want. Anybody, it's probably too personal to ask the question like, where are you at right now? But what are some things that maybe some people would like to be doing more of? Let's do that one. That sounds like fun. Laughing is a great one. I love that. I know, I wanted more of that too. Totally. Kirsten. Gardening. Yeah, it's so like peaceful and chill.
Time.
Just time.
Slowing down.
Yeah, not being on that like beta thing that's always going and answering emails all day long, and yeah.
Saying your kids, hurry.
Hurry, go. Yeah. I've been there. Yeah. Everybody move, now. Get your shoes on, let's go. I'm like a football coach. So take them down. All right, what about back here? Anybody else? Travel more? Well, you just opened a travel agency, right? That's perfect. That is lined right up there for you. I am so proud of you. That's awesome.
That's the location I'm jumping and scared. So
exactly. That's the only way to do it. Do it scared. There's actually a really cool tool that I discovered recently online. It's called the Life Score Assessment, and it's on Michael Hyatt's site. You can just Google Michael Hyatt Life Score Assessment. Chris will send out an email afterwards with this link. It's also already up on Creative Company's blog, so you can find it there. But it actually helps you go through, and it takes like 10 minutes, really. And you rank yourself on various areas that you're involved with: spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, marital, parental, social, vocational, avocational, and financial. And kind of where are you at? Now, the key to balance, and I actually wrote this quote down because I just think it's so great. Balance is not about doing all of this, like in the equal amount of time. Balance is, I thought it find it. So, but it's not doing it all at once. It's just actually having a roadmap so that you're doing all of it at some point and that your priorities are aligning. It's kind of a big concept, and yet it's not. So once I figured out what my real priorities were and my real values were, it is like that GPS. It tells me where to go. So I know that connectedness, being connected to my children, being connected to my friends, being connected to the people I work with, is life-giving to me. I don't want to just do. I'm just doing and achieving and working. I'm not necessarily connecting. If I don't get that connecting part in, I'm gonna eventually the business stuff is gonna struggle too. I've got to have that built in. And this gives me that, like, okay, what are my real priorities? And my children are definitely a real priority. My friendships are a real priority. Business and getting the accolades, it's so nice to have. I love having the affirmation or whatever, but it's not the most important thing in my life. So that's a big shift. Anyway, check that out. I got a 94 recently, which I was pretty pleased with, and a year ago I would have gotten an 87, and I think that's being generous. It's definitely, I would say it was more like a C student a year ago. So, okay, so let's talk about how, and I guess we really already covered this for the most part. I talked about the life assessment tool. I talked about how really take a look at your life. You get one, let's make it count. And then I talked about the things that we did. Now, as a company, we did do some off-site retreats. I write about the first off-site retreat in my book. I write about it because it did not go well. There were tears. And so you just have to know that when you start to stir this stuff up, stuff is going to happen. And it's not always going to be pretty. It's just not. And that's just how you get to better. You have to get to the root of an issue and what's getting in the way. You have to ask a lot of questions. I always felt the pressure to know. I don't know sometimes. I just don't. I got smart people around me, so like ask them. They can do things. I don't know the first thing about designing a website, but we do some kick-butt websites. In fact, we're just doing one. Well, I mean, I know a few things. Oh, wait, because we've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years. Chris Ackley, we just did one for Easter seals, right? It's about to launch. It's great. It's like 7 sites in one. It's super complicated. It's been a pretty seamless process. Betsy's been leading that with Craig, a senior web developer, and I actually started to hire more expensive people who really know what they're doing. And that's really hard when you're in business, but there are resources available too for women-owned businesses. I talked to you about the one that I have used, Madison, what's it called, Madison? I can't either. I'll get that in the link too, but there's money available for making these moves. I hadn't taken out a real business loan in many years, and I did that to help turn this thing into the direction that I wanted to go, with the book, with the new 180 and 120 website, and with the hiring of a senior web developer who was really, really good. It's changed things. So, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things that you did. We've heard that before by Mark Twain, right? I'm looking out at Tracy right now, and she's such a brilliant artist, and like, who knew, right? Like, and you're running this art studio now, and doing all these cool things, and helping others to explore that. And she just acted in a play, a couple of them. She stars in the plays. Like, who knew, right? Who knew? It's the coolest thing. I think that actually, as women, we get more interesting as we get older. Do we agree with that? Yes. Not less. So, here are the 8 things. I've only got a few minutes to go through them. So first, and again, this is all on my blog. You can take notes if you want to. But what matters most? Who are you really, and how do you want to be remembered? So I actually, part of Michael Hyatt's process is to actually write your own eulogy. So I wrote my eulogy, more or less, and I wrote it from the perspective of the different people in my life. So in my case, I did my clients, I did my kids. I actually sat down with my daughter and I said, if I died, sounds kind of morbid, but like, how would you remember me? And she said, that you made a lot of sacrifices for us, that you're an unapologetic businesswoman, that you talked a lot, that you were a really good mom, that you made good decisions, that you're very sensitive to things and people, that you loved God, and that your faith was real. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good. I can roll with that. For my clients, and you can even ask them, like, how would you remember me? But how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as a pain in the butt, or do you want to be remembered as somebody who really helped? You know, you think about some of the great teachers that you have in your life. Wow, what an impact they made. You know, and how they'll be remembered. So, you know, for my clients, she was a joy to work with. She was very connected. I'm going to miss working with her. She was a valuable person on my team. That's how I want to be remembered. So, taking the time to think about beginning with the end in mind. Stephen Covey said that. Begin with the end in mind. Where do you want to finish, and how do you want to finish? And then also asking yourself questions like, what really makes you come alive? I became a more creative, more interesting person because I sat down at the piano and started playing again. I mean, I played every once in a while, but playing with a band, with the mic, and the whole thing, I even sang. Who knew, right? Like, I've sung at church. I'm like, what am I doing in front of this microphone with this woman with this guitar? You know, and I sang at Rotary, too, in front of 250 people who I actually, like, I want their business and their respect. And I'm singing. I was asked to, and I with my client from Literacy Network, and we had fun. So, the man without a purpose is like a shoe without a rudder. Thomas Carlyle said this. Aren't these graphics great? A little boat. It is true. So what this life planning does for you, when you take time to think about where you want to end up, you don't do this thing. You don't just spin in circles. You actually have purpose. I get up in the morning now, I'm pretty fired up. I got stuff to do. I'm excited. I have more stuff to do than I can actually get done most days. Kristen's smiling at me. She knows what I'm talking about. So roadblocks that get in my way, though. Because you're going to encounter them, and like I said, grit will carry you through. Thinking is not a waste of time, but email can be. Who else picks up their phone in the morning, rolls over, picks up their phone, and looks through email? Yeah. I do it. I've actually been trying to discipline myself over the last few weeks to not do that first. And it's really hard. Being a slave to everyone else. One of my roadblocks prior to doing this was thinking that everybody else mattered more than me. My kids, my job, my clients, I would just die to self. Do you know what I finally did after 27 years in business? I hired myself to like market me. Do you know how huge that was? I've made superstars out of playing people. My turn. Okay. My turn. Not your turn. My turn. I just put my energy, my power, my ideas behind my brand. And it's making a huge difference. So having limiting beliefs. When I went to this conference in Puerto Rico, one of the limiting beliefs that I had was that I couldn't do more than $1 million a year without a business partner. Creative company did $1.5 million before the recession. And we stayed around that number for a few years. That was a big number because most women-owned businesses don't do more than $130,000 a year. Only 1.5% that hit that $1 million mark. Really. So, but I thought, I know how hard it's been to just get this thing back up to profitability and doing well again. I thought, I don't think I can do this without a partner. So I said that out loud at this conference to a woman who's doing $2 million a year. And she's like, yes, you can. I'm doing it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a limiting belief. And then Elise Mitchell spoke, and she's from New York City. And when she first started going to Counselors Academy 12 years ago, and this was my third Counselors Academy I should add, but she was doing $325,000 a year, and now she's doing $14 million. And Random House just published a book, or it's about to come out. So, yeah, so, yeah, limiting beliefs. I was like, yeah, I don't know, but I can't do it alone. I'm going to need lots of help. There's a lot of great people in the world. There's a lot of great people. And that's, oh gosh, I didn't even write about this. Stay away from those people who get in your way. Who say, no, you can't. The naysayers, the doubters, stuff like that. You don't need it. It's not going to help anything. Wise counselors that would give you good advice, that's fantastic. But be careful of those who are just always kind of chipping away at you. And move away from that. So, poor physical, mental, or spiritual health. I really struggle with getting exercise. Denise and I were just joking about this because she loves to exercise, and I would rather decorate, right? Right, or do something. Like I don't want to exercise, but you know, Denise is like, let's go paddle or let's go whatever. I wish I had more of that in my life, but together, you know, like we can actually make that work, right? Because we encourage each other. You have good buddies. Make sure those 5 people that are closest to you are people who are going to make you better. And then having weak boundaries. I actually just pulled myself off a board because, at least until the fall, because I'm too busy. So I like to say yes. My friends ask me to be on things. I'm on plenty of advisory boards and things. I got enough going on. And I knew I was going to miss a meeting, and I thought, this is not congruent with my values. I've got to either be all in, or I can't just be one of those people who shows up every once in a while. I can't. I'm trying to launch a book, I'm running a family, and I've got a business, and I'm active in my church. Like, I got plenty going on. I don't need any more. So I had to pull myself back. I just can't give it right now. So here are my final pieces of advice at 9:22. Chris actually was supposed to, did you give me a 10-minute warning? And I was supposed to know. Yeah. Oh, I'm until 9:45? I was just cruising, man, because I gotta be done at 9:30 and I need to cut me off. Okay, so, it really was. I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess there's gonna be plenty of time for Q&A and hanging out afterwards. But, you know, the most important thing, and it sounded so selfish, and even when I wrote it, I think the last chapter of my book is actually about choosing yourself. Let's see if I'm right about this. I'm gonna give away a few books too. So make sure that you get your business card or slip of paper in there, and I'll pass it around in a second. Let's see. Okay, my fun chapter is Why I Want to Be a Cowboy. That's true, yeah. I don't really want to be a cowboy, but I feel like I've been a cowboy. And then How to Succeed in Business, Choose Yourself, which I talked about here. You know what, we're just going to route it around. Here's some papers, you can read that. And then, you're the CEO of you. No one else can do that job for you. We all agree with that? You're the CEO of you. So lead yourself. You're the only one who can. And if you don't, other people will jump in and lead for you, but you may not like the direction they're taking you. Is that right? And then put you first, and trust yourself. My CFO actually gave me a plaque when I moved into my new space. She's always giving me these really great gifts. And I love it. That's her love language. You guys know that book? Yeah, I know. Her love language is giving gifts, and I'm so thankful because I love her little gifts. They're so thoughtful. So she gave me one that said, trust in you. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's part of, I'm 48 years old. If it's, I feel like in my 40s, I doubted myself more than I ever did. I don't know if that resonates with anybody else, but in my 20s, I was like, I have got this thing, and I completely didn't. Right? And then in my 30s, I actually kind of started to put it together, but I was so tired. I was running the big company, I was on planes, I had the family, and it was just a lot. I felt pretty good about what I knew and what I could deliver and what we were delivering as a company and the results that we were generating for clients. But the recession hit in 2008. And I don't know how that affected everybody else, but I also got divorced that year. So those two things together really caused me to go, whoa, do I have this thing? Do I know what I'm doing? And it turns out that I do. But it took a long time to get back there, to really feeling like, okay, you know what, I have lived it. I've done it. I've been through the things. And that's what really makes the difference. You've got to have people in your life who will come alongside you when you hit those roadblocks, when you hit that day where you, like, right after I moved my office from one side of the Capitol to the other, I had a key employee quit. So we're in the middle of 180 and 120, and somebody just decided to jump ship. I knew she needed to jump ship. I knew it was her time to go and you know, explore things in other places. It was a good fit for her. I got it. That still put us in a heck of a position. And you really sit back and you pour as much into others as I was doing at that time. You sit back and you go, am I doing this right? And can I do it again? Can I bring somebody in again? Can I train them again? Or should I just, you know, do what a bunch of my peers in the industry have done and just like solo it? I'm gonna rainbow it. I don't need anybody. I mean, the temptation was absolutely there. Now, I will tell you though, there isn't a single day now that I don't wake up and I'm not enormously grateful for the talented, hardworking people on my team. And every change that happened brought in some new energy that we desperately needed, some new ideas, and it was good. The trick is to get yourself through those moments as quickly as possible. Those moments of self-doubt aren't going to serve you. And if you've taken the time to make sure that your reserves are full, that you're getting enough sleep, that you're taking care of yourself, that you're getting enough exercise. It's like basic stuff that your mom taught you, right? If you're doing those things, you can go into the world and handle those bumps that are going to naturally happen. Understanding that it was normal for those things to happen, that is business. It was really helpful to me. And life is like that too. You know, we just kind of go along, we do our best. We have an end in mind, but it doesn't always turn out exactly the way we had planned. So with that, oh, I know what I was going to say. I was going to tell you guys one more thing. So one of the things that's really fun about the business that I'm in is that it's always evolving, right? So like just last week, we launched quietly a new website audit package, right? And what I loved about this process was that it moved so fast. It's a new revenue stream. It's going to be really good for all of us. It's going to be great for our clients. It's going to be great for our community. I'm so excited about it. So the actual campaign actually will go out, I think, before noon today. The first like public launch of it. But you guys, it came together so seamlessly. I'm not saying there wasn't some struggle, but when you get rid of all that stuff that's holding you back and you're honest about it, you really can just kind of, when you know where you're going, you really can fly. Now, in our case, I did 180 and 120 a year ago, starting May 1st through September. And and then talked about it, wrote about it. So giving yourself some deadlines too is really important. Otherwise, you're just kind of like into infinity, right? Who cares? But like, it's anything. And it takes at least, they say it takes 60 days to actually get into a habit or something like that. It's not 30, it's not 21. It takes longer than we realize. So to change a culture, to change your mindset, it's going to take time. You're going to hit these walls. You're going to have to get back in there and just focus. I keep lots of paper around me, which is evidence here. If you came to my office, my personal office, not the whole creative company, there's lots of white paper. My goals are front and center every day. Probably 5 years ago, I was in Vegas and I was listening to a guy from Lululemon talk, CEO, and he said that his goals are on the urinal, like in front of him. At the office, like they're just there. So, front and center, what do I want to do? Where am I going? What are my priorities, Yeah, so I don't know. Put them wherever you want, but just keep them front and center. My bathroom, actually, I'll put giant, colorful, Astro Bright notes of the key things that I need to be thinking about to keep my mind focused. So otherwise, I'm a writer. I'll go all kinds of different places. So yeah, that's it. I don't know. I hope that there are some ideas here that you are going to leave with that are really going to inspire you. I hope that things like the life score assessment help you to think about really where you're at and where you want to go. Take some time for yourself. Be selfish. There's only one you, and we need you. We need you to be bringing your best self into the world. Because what the world really needs is more people who come alive.
Great stuff. We have some time for some questions, so who wants to fire some questions?
Just to talk about, did you trademark your hashtag before?
Yeah, I have trademarked it before. So I have trademarked the hashtag too.
Wow.
That
That is awesome.
Yeah, girls can do things. I mean, truly, like the tech industry is flaming hot here, but women only get 4% of venture capital money. And yeah, get out there and play, you guys. Play to win. See what's going on in the world and do it too. The book and publishing it, if you have questions about how you would like to do that yourself, just write me too, because I'm more than happy to help. It was not easy. Anyone who tells you that it's easy to do this is full of malarkey. It's easy to maybe publish something that isn't good. Ours is 4-color. It's beautifully laid out. It took 2 editors, 2 art directors, and a bunch of cash to bring it to life. That and the website, because the website was a whole other animal. But it wasn't an inexpensive thing to do by any stretch. But it's good for business. And it's not my last book. This is my practice book. It's a great book. You should read it and you should buy it. But I'm just saying, it is, but it's not the be-all, end-all. It's really not. I have other books and other stories inside my head that I really want to write. And sometimes actually one of the hardest things for me to do is to not be that person. I get very frustrated when I'm not able to create or write or tell stories, and so I have to build that into my day. I get too busy, I don't do that, I got to pull back, and I've got to make sure that I'm carving out time to write, create, and be.
You chose to have a physical book as opposed to an e-book.
Nope, I have an e-book too, it's $3.99 on Kindle.
Oh, okay.
Or free if you're a Kindle Unlimited member. And I also have, and you can do an e-book free. or ebook very quickly and easily, to your point. If you wanted to do just an ebook, you could do that probably without the headaches that we had with this, because it's easy to edit and change with that system. There's tons of benefits of that, and it's an easily downloadable white paper if you're trying to give something away. It is available. I use CreateSpace, and I've been super happy with them. I talked to Seth Godin's publisher and in Canada, and it was going to be $15,000 for me to publish, and I had to order this like minimum amount of books if I had them do it. But then afterwards, after I went through the process, and believe me, there was one shipment of books that came in, and they were all screwed up, right? And I was like, oh, I should have hired the Canadian company, right? That's what I really thought. But, you know what? Seth's got 2 typos in his book at least. I know. I was like, no, it's okay. So, yeah, anyway.
Well, what I've heard is, Laura, that once you, like, writing your book is faster, but once you get it done, the hard work begins. And so when you talk about your mantra, choosing yourself, leading, taking care of yourself, and you're balancing, whatever that is, how do you step into it even while you're beautifully afraid? I mean, how do you, I guess I'm what you call a tortured writer, so I'm living through you right now, but through that part of it, it's how are you keeping your restore tanks full in this wonderfully ambitious, beautiful world that you're in right now?
It is kind of like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of magical.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is that I start most days with Oswald Chambers. And he has a blog called My Utmost for His Highest. And it's a classic. I don't read the classic version, I read an updated version. So I spend time alone just thinking about higher thoughts. I think about God, I think about like who I am in that context. And I feel pretty tiny in comparison. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a big world. And especially when you get out there and you travel and you see all the people and things, you're like, you know, like most of it's small stuff, you guys.
Yeah.
And then who you are is more important than what you do.
Yeah.
So when I go into my day, who I am is the most important thing. I can't control a lot of things that happen, but I can control one thing, and that's me. So I'm going to make sure that I am showing up and being present in the best way that I can. Yeah, great question, Allie.
We have a lot of female entrepreneurs in
Yes.
here. And in your $1 million company, we don't have the budgets that we do focus on. And so for those of us that are small time and sole proprietors and so forth, do you ever do coaching, consulting just to help develop marketing plans for small entrepreneurs? Is that something that your company would consider?
You know, we've actually helped some authors and some others come up with, yes, so we do help sometimes, and we do solo projects every once in a while. It kind of depends on whether or not it aligns with our values. So that's actually another thing that's really interesting, is that we choose our clients. So I don't represent everybody that calls, and sometimes I've already walked out of a meeting and went, run! Run! No, this isn't going to be a good fit. Because, you know, and Betsy and I heard this talk last year at the Global Leadership Summit, but there are people who are minimizers, who will continually do this to every idea that you have until you feel like you cannot breathe. Ever had a boss like that? They're micromanaging and you're up in your business. There was a client we actually represented within the last year who I aligned with their company in such a marvelous way. The person who was managing us, she was just up in our business all the time, and we couldn't, there were no wings. You clip our wings and we can't fly. You let us fly and we're going to create great things. And that's true of each of us too. If somebody's clipping your wings and not encouraging you and not got your back and not helping you achieve things, you aren't going to do as well as you will if you've got that support behind you. And that support does not have to come from a spouse or a best friend. It's out there. There are tons of people on this planet who are all about just raising people up. They want the world to be a better place. Find those people and align with them. I happen to find them a lot in the nonprofit ministry worlds, but they're also in business. My friend Brad Davis has been just phenomenal. This is Brad. I'm telling one quick story. I'm watching my timekeeper over there. He's like the police. So anyway, how did I meet Brad Davis? Brad Davis was at Age's marketer, one of the top 50 marketers in America, retail marketing hall of fame. When I first met him, or first saw him, he was on the stage at a conference. All right, 1,200 people in the audience. Marlon Thomas is there. Magic Johnson's there. Huge conference in Chicago. I make my own reserved seat signs. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, you guys, right? I made my own reserved seat signs, and then I sat in the front, and I just was like, he's brilliant. And he had a keynote that day. Of course, he just actually spoke in Dubai, and he had a standing ovation, which I noticed. But I decided at that moment that Brad and I should be friends. Okay? I really did. I honest to God did. And so the next year I saw him from a distance with a bunch of other people, and by then I was on a committee and I was moving towards getting on the board. And I said, Brad Davis! And he's like, this, because that's the kind of guy he is. And I'm like, okay, I'm going in for the hug. Help me, but that's okay. And so Brad and I ended up sitting next to each other the following year at a board meeting, and we were like buddies. We were just the best of friends. And we were writing each other notes, and he's like, somebody just called me old hell, you know, and stuff like that. We're just like having fun, and he's just a great diplomat and a really smart man. He has been such an encouragement to me over the years. He lives in California. I've only seen him a couple of times since Vegas. We spent a day together once in San Francisco. We spent a day together in Chicago over the last few years, but we write frequently, and you guys, your mentor doesn't have, it can be in a book, it can be a person that you see infrequently, but get some mentors, get some people who will just help you to fly. You know, I remember having dinner with Brad, and I said, I just think Seth Godin is just so amazing, and he said, you are Seth Godin. But you know, like the point is that he's just like, you got this thing, like you can do this, you know? So we need people like that in our lives. Find those people and seek them out. They may not, you don't have to wait to be chosen. Yep. Actually, Tracy, our new art director, and I were just talking about this. We were talking about who we used to be. Who were you in high school? I'm like, I was the last kid picked. I was the last kid picked. I am a terrible athlete. You do not want me on your volleyball team. You just don't. If you put me on your volleyball team, you're gonna have Denise and Michelle on either side of me to make sure that ball doesn't hit the ground, because it's gonna hit the ground, all right? That's who I was. We all have these parts of us that aren't necessarily awesome, but we have to choose ourselves in the areas where we're really good. I chose myself with Brad Davis. I've chosen myself in my business. I've chosen myself with my book. I choose me. And it's okay to do that. You don't need to wait for permission.
We're giving away some books here.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Does anyone have last minute? All right.
Shake it up, shake it up. So the first one goes to Katie Buter at the Wisconsin Chamber. Wisconsin, yep. Right there. Katie, great. I'll send it to you. Yellow, Shaq with Donna Peterson. Linda Feed from Century 21. There you go. So I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I do write honestly about business on LinkedIn's Pulse, which is a free tool that you can write ideas and share thoughts with and ask for help with. I also, you can connect with me on Facebook. I'm pretty, as long as we have a couple of mutual friends, I'm good with that. And let's see, I'm also on Google Plus and on Twitter at Creative Company and on Instagram, but that's probably more like sunset pictures. Okay, so I love sunsets. Yeah.
So in about 20 minutes, you'll receive an email that has all of Laura's contact info. Also, the link she mentioned, Michael Hyatt's life score assessment. I have a link to that that'll be coming to you, and then also a link to Laura's book. So please stick around. There's nothing coming in here. There's lots of breakfast food from Yola's up front, and connect with one another.
And the promo code for the book, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
It's on the website too, I think. I think it says say 25% off. But it's 25 off 180. And then I do have a few books with me. DreamBank won't let me sell them here. Whatever. So Betsy and I are actually going to collect TiVo afterwards. I've got just a handful with me. If you want to pick one up down there, it's $20. So that's the pitch. How's that?